In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
But I do ask every publisher, every editor, and every newsman in the nation to re-examine his own standards and to recognize the nature of our country's peril. In time of war, the government and the press have customarily joined in an effort based largely on self-discipline to prevent unauthorized disclosures to the enemy. In times of clear and present danger, the courts have held that even the privileged rights of the First Amendment must yield to the public's need for national security. Today, no war has been declared, and however fierce the struggle may be, it may never be declared in the traditional fashion. Our way of life is under attack. Those who make themselves our enemy are advancing around the globe. The survival of our friends is in danger, and yet no war has been declared. No borders have been crossed by marching troops. No missiles have been fired. If the press is awaiting a declaration of war before it imposes the self-discipline of combat conditions, then I can only say that no war ever posed a greater threat to our security. If you are awaiting a finding of clear and present danger, then I can only say that the danger has never been more clear, and its presence has never been more imminent.
It's time to recognize that we've come to a turning point. We're threatened with an economic calamity of tremendous proportions, and the old business-as-usual treatment can't save us. Together, we must chart a different course. We must increase productivity. That means making it possible for industry to modernize and make use of the technology which we ourselves invented. That means putting Americans back to work, and that means, above all, bringing government spending back within government revenues, which is the only way, together with increased productivity, that we can reduce and, yes, eliminate inflation.
The only thing that can stop this corrupt machine is you. The only force strong enough to save our country is us. The only people brave enough to vote out this corrupt establishment is you, the American people. I'm doing this for the people and for the movement, and we will take back this country for you, and we will make America great again.
Hello, welcome to Inform America. My name is Rich Merritt. Hosting with me today is Wylene Poliquin. Welcome, Wylene.
Thank you, Richie.
Our show is going to be on questioning, well, just questioning in general. Question what's going on in the world. Question your environment. But before we get into that, I wanted to mention, please read the Boston Broadside, or check them out anyway. Subscribe to them. It's a good newspaper, and we have to start, we the people who are looking for the truth, have to start supporting organizations like this that are not lying to us but telling us the truth. So check out the Boston Broadside. Make them the paper of New England. Get rid of some of these other rag sheets. Secondly, I'd like to ask you to go to the nationallibertyalliance.org. And soon I think you'll find out why. I think there's some really nice things happening with NLA. We'll see. A lot of events can change things, but check out the nationallibertyalliance.org, become a member. Have your kids learn from that. I'm telling you, the information that's on that website is incredible. It's nothing short of incredible. Thirdly, I'd like to ask you to support me, if you would please, by checking out my book. I believe the flyer will be put up at the end of the show for 10 or 15 seconds, and there's a link that you can go to. The book is also, or will be within the next few days, on Amazon, so you can purchase it there. But in all honesty, I think it's a little bit more expensive on Amazon. So, but anyway, check that out if you would. And with that, we're going to show a short video and then come back and talk about how you should question things. We'll see what happens.
the public relations industry, the advertising industry, which is dedicated to creating consumers. It's a phenomenon that developed in the freest countries, in Britain and the United States. And the reason is pretty clear. It became clear by, say, a century ago that it was not going to be so easy to control the population by force. Too much freedom had been won. Labor organizing, parliamentary labor parties in many countries, women starting to get the franchise and so on. So you had to have other means of controlling people. And it was understood and expressed that you have to control them by control of beliefs and attitudes. Well, one of the best ways to control people in terms of attitudes is what the great political economist Thorstein Veblen called fabricating consumers. If you can fabricate wants, make obtaining things that are just about within your reach the essence of life, they're going to be trapped into becoming consumers. You read the business press, say, 1920s, it talks about the need to direct people to the superficial things of life, like fashionable consumption, and that'll keep them out of our hair. You find this doctrine all through progressive intellectual thought, like Walter Lippmann, the major progressive intellectual of the 20th century. He wrote famous progressive essays on democracy, in which his view was exactly that. The public must be put in their place so that the responsible men can make decisions without interference from the bewildered herd. There to be spectators, not participants, then you get a properly functioning democracy. Straight back to Madison and on to Powell's memorandum and so on. And the advertising industry just exploded with this as its goal, fabricating consumers. And it's done with great sophistication.
You don't see many wild stallions anymore. He's one of the last of a wild and very singular breed. Come to Marlboro country.
The ideal is what you actually see today, where, let's say, teenage girls, if they have a free Saturday afternoon, will go walking in the shopping mall, not to the library or somewhere else. The idea is to try to control everyone, to turn the whole society into the perfect system. Perfect system would be a society based on a dyad, a pair. The pair is you and your television set, or maybe now you and the internet, in which that presents you with what the proper life would be, what kind of gadgets you should have, and you spend your time and effort gaining those things which you don't need and you don't want, and maybe you'll throw them away. But that's the measure of a decent life. What we see is in, say, advertising on television. If you've ever taken an economics course, you know that markets are supposed to be based on informed consumers making rational choices. Well, if we had a system like that, a market system, then a television ad would consist of, say, General Motors putting up information saying, here's what we have for sale. That's not what an ad for a car is. An ad for a car is a football hero, an actress, the car doing some crazy thing like going up a mountain or something. The point is to create uninformed consumers who will make irrational choices. That's what advertising is all about. And when the same institutions, PR system, runs elections, they do it the same way. They want to create an uninformed electorate which will make irrational choices, often against their own interests. And we see it every time one of these extravaganzas take place. Right after the election, President Obama won an award from the advertising industry for the best marketing campaign, and it wasn't reported here. If you go to the international business press, executives were euphoric. They said we've been selling candidates, marketing candidates like, toothpaste ever since Reagan. And this is the greatest achievement we have. I don't usually agree with Sarah Palin, but when she mocks what she calls the hopey-changey stuff, she's right. First of all, Obama didn't really promise anything. That's mostly illusion. You go back to the campaign rhetoric and take a look at it. There's very little discussion of policy issues, and for very good reason, because public opinion on policy is sharply disconnected from what the two-party leadership and their financial backers want. Policy, more and more, is focused on the private interests that fund the campaigns, with the public being marginalized.
What can I say? It's really what life is about. We're being conditioned to accept everything. And right now, we're good consumers. We consume everything. We have to buy stuff. You got an iPhone 5 or 7 or whatever the hell they are. The next one comes, I got to have it. Why do you have to have it? The one you got's no good? Or do you just got to keep buying up and up and up?
You always want better than what you already have.
Well, that's our problem. Why do you want better than what you have? Is what you have not functional? And the point of this show is to simply question things. And we're going to start off. Wylene's going to read something. We're going to talk about it, and we're going to go through a list. So with that, we'll start on the list.
Okay. Why do we allow our children to pledge allegiance to the flag and to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands?
Now, my only question is, please don't turn the channel. It's not that I'm not a patriot, but my point is simply this. We send our children, and I did this when I was a kid in the first grade. We went to school, and they said, you put your hand over your heart, I pledge allegiance to the flag. Okay, well, a 7-year-old kid doesn't know what the flag is. He doesn't know what it represents. And then we further go on to say, and to the United States of America. Well, which United States of America? And it further goes on to say, and to the republic. Well, if you pledge allegiance to the republic, that's great. But your little kid in school doesn't know what the republic is or what it stands for. And the United States of America is now a corporation. That I'm not making up. It's not like it's a joke. Our government doesn't exist today. It's a corporation that is morphed into the organized crime ring that it is. Why do you think the people who are in organized crime are talking about impeaching Trump? Because of the treason that they have committed, and they were fearful of going to prison for, or worse. Anyway, that's and the question is simply why. Answer the question in your own mind. Right. Why do you pledge allegiance to the flag, to the United States of America, when you don't even know what the flag, the United States of America, or the Republic are? That's my only question.
People are programmed.
Right, we're programmed from little kids.
Right.
That's my thing. We're being indoctrinated into the school system.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying it's bad. If we had the republic, which is we're supposed to be a republic, I would say that's great. And if your child knows that, if they learned it in the 4th grade and then started pledging allegiance, I would say okay, because they've learned what it is. But that's not the case. They're never taught what the flag represents. You know the difference between a flag, red, white, and blue, and a red, white, and blue flag with gold fringe around it? Look it up. Look it up under Title IV. You'll find out the difference. The gold fringe means it's admiralty jurisdiction. Okay? It's not a nice thing. All right? It's not a nice thing.
Yeah, because I didn't know that.
Well, I didn't either until about 10 years ago. But, they don't teach us that.
And exactly. And exactly. Just like I've heard all my life about common law. Okay? I didn't know that that's what was supposed to exist.
Oh, that's what these are right here.
And exactly.
The state and federal constitutions.
And exactly.
Common law documents.
But that's what is supposed to exist.
You're not supposed to know that, Wylene.
But exactly. Because they have us programmed to think that we're supposed to get licenses, supposed to get registrations. We're programmed to supposed to believe that we have to do all these things that we don't really have to do.
And we're supposed to do it because people before us did it, and we just accept it like chimpanzees. Oh,
Right,
Joey got his license. He's older than me. I got to get my license.
right.
Not do I have to get my license,
Right.
but I have to get my license.
Right, we're programmed.
Yeah.
Right, we're domino effect. We're watching and we're believing because we're following the program.
So I guess I'm putting the question out there. Why?
Right,
That's all.
why?
And we'll go on to the
Exactly,
second one.
to the next one. Why do we believe the history that we are taught in school? Are there not two sides to every story?
Yeah, that's my only point with that is that I can tell you, well, there's a lot of history that is inaccurate. A lot of history, especially around the Civil War, is totally inaccurate. Totally inaccurate. The 13th, for example, the 13th Amendment of the United States Constitution, the original one, ratified in 1812, and there's some dispute about whether it was 1819, but regardless, that was the TONA, Title of Nobility Amendment, that was it was passed then. During the Civil War, they removed it, not lawfully, they just got rid of it and replaced it with, we're going to free the slaves. And everybody was, real excited. We're going to free the slaves? Well, nobody's going to question what they took. And what they took was, title of nobility means an esquire can't serve in government. They're a foreign agent. They're not a citizen of the United States. Look it up if you think I'm wrong. And by the way, you can go up to Fruit Street in Concord, or if you're listening to this in another state, go up to your state archives, especially if you're one of the 13 original colonies, and ask them for a certified copy of the Title of Nobility Amendment, the original 13th Amendment. You will get a certified copy. You get it here in the state because I've had one. I've misplaced it. I don't know where it is, but I got it, and it's the Title of Nobility, and it was ratified in 1812 by New Hampshire. I'm not making it up. This is real stuff. So my whole point is that everything that you read isn't accurate. Check it out. Question things. And especially have your kids question it in school. Don't accept everything they're being told because it's not accurate. I'm sorry to be, sound like I'm doom and gloom, but the fact of the matter is we haven't been taught 100% what is truthful.
And everything that's said here on this show, we can back up.
Absolutely.
You can look it up for yourself and find out that everything that we say here is fact.
State archives, check it out. They'll give you the factual information. It's just that if you're not asking for it, you're not going to get it.
Exactly. So you want to keep being duped? Well, keep being duped, I guess. But if you want to know the truth, well, listen to us and then go look it up for yourselves.
That's it. All right, what do we got next?
All right, next we got, why are we not taught finances in school? The difference between an asset and a liability.
The reason I brought that one up, because we're all over the road with these questions, but I wanted to be, they teach you how to be a consumer, as the video just stated. Okay, they want you to spend money because we're a corporatocracy now. The government's a corporatocracy, the corporations are in their back pocket and vice versa. It really doesn't matter, but if you own assets, you have value. You have value. You own something tangible. If all you have is a liability, and I'll give you a quick example, you have nothing. It's a liability. You go out and you buy a house. Is that an asset or a liability? The answer is, because I don't want to embarrass anybody, the answer is it's a liability.
Right.
It's not an asset. It's an asset once you pay it off.
Right.
But you continue to pay money, your hard-earned money comes into your pocket, goes to pay it. You have nothing. When it's paid off and you get the title, then it's yours. And I'm not even going to go into that because there's no allodial title in this country, so you don't even own it. But I don't want to go there right now. We'll just stick with this.
The thing is, you need to learn the difference between
Right.
asset and liability.
Somebody, and you can relate to this, Wylene,
Yeah.
because of where you live.
Yeah.
Somebody goes out and buys an apartment building or a multi-dwelling house, 6-family house, and they start getting income in, and then they decide after a year, they fix it all up and do it nice, whatever. They say, geez, I'm going to buy my own house. The money that they make from that 6-family house, they put into their home. That's an asset because it's not costing them anything. These tenants in this 6-family house is paying for your house. So you're having the money work for you to give you an asset. That's the difference. And listen, I didn't learn this. I went to school for finance and accounting. I didn't learn this in school. And I'm only trying to point it out because we're all out there consumers. Get this, get the stuff. You don't need it.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
we can move on. I want to
All
finish
right.
all of these if I can.
Why do we continue to support the very entity that is destroying our lives?
The
Banks.
Well, the reason that I mention that is the banks is destroying, not only, the banks are destroying this world. The world economy is garbage, okay? Our dollar is so stretched that it's totally worthless. It's a piece of paper. There is no gold and silver backing it. They continue to print it, and every time, if there's $10 in circulation and you own one, you own 1/10 of all the money in the country. If you go to bed and the Fed says, well, I want to print $1,000, and they print $1,000. When you wake up in the morning, you have 1/1000th of the money in circulation. You just lost a ton of money, and all you did was go to bed. The banks took care of the rest for you. That's what happens. And on top of them printing that money, then they turn around to our government, our corporation, and say, we got to charge you interest, which they do. That's what the debt is. So they charge us interest for printing our money, which we authorize the government to do in Article 1, Section 8, which we're going to talk about in a minute. The whole thing is bizarre, and it's because we didn't question anything. We didn't look into it. We accept what's being told to us. These are the authorities. They got the authority because we gave it to them.
We've become sheeples.
That's exactly what we've
We're
become. We're out there
sheeples.
grazing in the field,
Right.
and they just dump manure on top of us, and like little sheeple, we take it. We have to start questioning. And the banks are public enemy number 2, right behind ignorance. There is nothing more in the way, like I said, other than ignorance, than the banks. They're destroying the planet. The planet. I can't go into it because that's a 2-hour show or a 3-hour
Seriously.
show, but
Seriously.
you can look it up. Type in international banking, fractionalized banking, anything you want, Federal Reserve Bank. Start looking it up for yourself.
Type in anything about banks and you'll get
An earful.
a multitude of
Yeah.
just total destruction.
All right, what do we got next?
All right. Why do you care about the bottom line of corporation and not your own?
All that is why do you care? In other words, at Christmas time, and I think I'm jumping
We'll
the gun
get to
here.
that. We'll get to that.
You have to spend money, okay? You have to spend money. Everything, listen to the ads on the radio and the ads on the TV. I got rid of a TV, I don't know, 6, 7 years ago, and I did it because I can't stand having these brain cells killed. There's enough dead up there already. I don't need to have more dead. There's nothing on TV that's going to educate me, that's going to do anything for me. It simply, it deadens you. But aside from that, they want you to be a consumer, as the video just said, and this isn't something that's being made up. It's being done intentionally. We want you to be a consumer, not an educated consumer, because an educated consumer, as far as I'm concerned, would say, well, I need to buy this if I need it, not if I want it, but if I need it. You know, your dishwasher breaks. You need a new one. Or you can do without. I mean, you can wash them by hand. That's what they used to do. But that's understandable. But if you're sitting there saying, geez, you know, they have these stainless steel ones out, even though your dishwasher's working fine, these nice stainless steel ones, and I can have it monogrammed, and I can do this, and I can do that. So you run out and you buy one. What sense did that make? The one you had worked perfectly fine.
That's excessive luxury.
But that's what we do.
And a lot of people do, not everybody.
Well, I say
Yeah,
we because
I know.
I'm
The
speaking in
people.
general terms, right?
Yeah.
Speaking in general terms.
Yeah, yeah.
You have a nice countertop in your kitchen, and they come out and say, "Look at this marble top. You can spill
Yeah.
stuff on it and wipe it off and do this." Yeah, and it's nice to have that. And if you have the money and you want to do it, sure, you can do anything you want to do.
Yeah.
But do you want to do it because you want to do it, or do you want to do it because someone told you to do it?
Believe me, I know people that are in such extreme debt.
Exactly.
Because they're living way above their means. And I actually know a family that, because of one person in the household, not the entire family, one person in the household making very bad decisions, the entire family has to go and work extra because of one person living above the means.
And what sense does that make?
None.
Because as a family, they could be a closer, tighter unit, work together to help each other, rather than all being out working to pay for these stupid
these
things.
luxuries. It's insane. But this one person has such luxurious taste and has to have the best of the best and buys way more than they need.
If
and
you can't afford it,
it's insane.
Yeah,
it's
you
insane.
shouldn't do
and
it.
you don't need it.
Yeah.
You don't need it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane.
What do we got next?
We got next. The boundaries that were set by the states on the federal government were defined and limited by Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution. Why has the federal government overstepped their limits by 10,000%, and no one talks about it?
Yeah, the reason that I wanted to mention that, and if we could have it up on the screen, Brandon, I'd appreciate it. The Article 1, Section 8 of the United States Constitution. There's 18 defined and limited powers there that the states granted to the federal government. I mean, the states are the federal government's boss, according to the United States Constitution. And I'm only trying to make you think and be aware of certain things. The United States Constitution doesn't exist anymore, well, I won't go down that road, okay? I'm sorry to throw that out. Article 1, Section 8 is defined and limited powers, naturalization, post office, roads, weights and measures, and, as far as I'm concerned, the coin money and regulate the value thereof. Not give it to the Federal Reserve, a privately owned bank, with the Roosevelts and the Rothschilds and all these other people involved with that.
Got a 1 minute mark.
Well, it's got to do with something else, and that is 18 and defined and limited powers. The alphabet soup, the FBI, the CIA, the DEA, the, BLM, all of these. They don't exist in law. In law, they do not exist. They're not in the United States Constitution. But in corporate law, in the corporation, they do exist. It's still not lawful, but what do? We play right into them, consenting to what they have put out front when it doesn't exist in law. My question is that what you want? You should be looking into it and questioning it. Read Article 1, Section 8. If you haven't read it, that's why this government is running roughshod over all of us.
Let out. Next.
Yeah.
Why is your state constitution understood by so few people when the people are the ones that ratified that document? We have turned that control of the law over to communist organization, the bar.
And that's my whole point, is that if you don't read the state constitution, which was ratified by your forefathers, and we turn it over we have turned it over to the bar. The bar owns this country. 10,000 attorneys in the Department of Justice in Washington. 10,000. Okay? They run this. Watch Mike Gill in State of Corruption. Listen to all the attorneys he's mentioning. Attorney General. I don't want to go through the whole list. Okay? The point is that you don't know the Constitution because you haven't read it. And you keep saying, well, I'm not an attorney. You don't have to be an attorney to understand this little tiny book. All you got to do is read it. Just read it. And read it a couple times. Read it 3 or 4 or 5 times. However many times you need to read it, read it. Read a page a day. It's your law. It's incumbent upon you to understand it. And if you don't understand it, and I didn't, by the way, so I'm only trying to make you aware of the fact that I did what you are doing. I was ignorant. I'm trying to correct that problem, and I'm trying to help you correct that problem. So hopefully I'm making some headway, but we'll see. Is there another one, or is that it? I think this might be one more.
There's 2 more.
Okay.
You
just had 2 minutes.
Okay. Christmas is coming, Do you think that you should bring in corporate profits or take care of yourself and your family? Spend quality time with your children and grandchildren. Don't be one of those who are stampeded in the front door of a department store.
Before I go on, how much time do we have, Brandon?
Oh,
All right, then.
That's what I thought.
We're over. I apologize. Go ahead and subscribe to our channel. Like us on Facebook. Go to inform-america.org and check out my book, Stand Your Ground. Sorry we're late. Thank you for watching.